Able to see, no? A very good afternoon to every one of you who have joined us for this webinar on career opportunities in pharmaceutical industry. Uh, it was said by Isaac Newton, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Most of us here in this audience are probably pursuing our MD Pharmacology or have just recently completed MD Pharmacology and probably are looking at the crossroads and seeing how you could be either in the academic space or industry. And I think maybe many of you would be interested to be in the industry, but not very sure exactly how to go about doing this. So we have with us this afternoon Galaxy experts who have traversed this path over the years and who are sufficiently experienced to guide you through this process. And I'll just briefly introduce them. We start with Dr. Sreekanth, whom needs actually no introduction. Dr. Sreekanth completed his MD Pharmacology at Ramachandra Medical College in Chennai and has over 16 years of experience in clinical research and pharma industry. He has worked in several companies, including Merck, Novartis, Sandoz, and he's a founder of P2PC. And he's also visiting faculty at Ramachandra and course lead here at SRM for the CPD course. Currently, he works as global program head, Sandoz, Basel, Switzerland. His roles include accountability for end-to-end development of biosimilars in oncology, neurology, and leader of the team with cross-functional experts, senior experts covering technical research, preclinical, clinical pharmacology, regulatory, as well as commercials. Then we have Dr. Prithvi with us, who has completed her MD in pharmacology and has experience in medical affairs and also traversed other areas such as writing, medical writing, clinical development, working in roles of various capacities, including clinical scientific expert to associate clinical development medical director. Currently, she works in medical safety division and will be shortly moving to early phase trials as a translational clinical oncology physician. And Dr. Prithvi is from Novartis. And then we have Dr. Akshay with us. Dr. Akshay completed his MBBS from JJM Medical College, Davangere, and MD Pharmacology from Mysore Medical College. Has 6 years of industry experience, mostly in medical affairs. Started off as regional medical advisor at Mumbai and medical advisor Bangalore and patient centricity lead for 1 year. And now currently is working as medical affairs manager oncology space at AstraZeneca in Bangalore. And finally, we have Dr. Apeksha Bhandari, who is the medical affairs manager in the hemat-oncology division and rare disease division. She's been working in medical affairs for over 6 years, worked in metabolic cardiovascular therapy area, and also worked as a medical excellence manager in medical affairs. So a big thank you to all the speakers, all the panelists of today's webinar. I'm sure their experience will certainly help you understand how to go through this, take this decision as far as choosing a career in the pharma. You could share your screen, Dr. Sreekanth.
Okay, so thanks, Melvin. You got muted for the last few seconds, so I could not follow. Okay, so let's get started now. Let me share my screen. If someone can confirm if they see my screen.
Yeah, it's visible, Sreek. Go ahead, please.
Okay, good. Thanks. And thanks, Melvin, for giving that good start. And also, it's glad to see our panelists today. So who can, I know them since some time, and then going by the time frame, I think we can also consider them also as giants of the industry now. So you are veterans of P2PC. So what we are going to do today for all other students is that it's an effort to basically give a head start. I'll take probably about 20 minutes to really give an overview of how the career opportunities are in general, but more importantly, how you should basically change the way you look at your own career. And then we will use the remaining 30 minutes or so for more like a panel discussion, asking questions, and try to address as much of questions that we can address from participants. So okay. So, before we start, there's a disclaimer that all the opinions and concepts that we are talking about now are solely mine and do not necessarily represent any of my current or previous employer. And if I have taken anything on my slides, that is, either from publicly available sources or from my personal experiences. So we will spend some time today in terms of like whenever we think about career development, why we should think about it, when we should start thinking about it, how the planning should look like, and what are some of the tools that we can consider when we are thinking about career planning in pharma industry. So why should anyone have some sort of a career plan? And what happens? Let's look at two scenarios, right? So what happens if you don't have a career plan? Versus what are the advantages in having a career plan, and what happens if you don't have a career plan. And at least my observation is most of us after completing MD, so we'll basically grab the immediately available easiest option that we get into that, and then we basically let the market drive our career growth. And by doing so, if you don't have a particular goal, it really looks very fancy and nice at the beginning for the first 5 years, and then you get maxed out, right? So the salaries get maxed out, your experiences and learnings get maxed out, and then you'll basically after 5-7 years coming back to the drawing desk and okay, so what drives me? And that question, what drives me? If you actually ask that question now, and then try to see, okay, what drives me? What is it that I really want to do? What makes me happy? And then keep that question in the center and build a plan around it. Then you will avoid that situation where someone else or the market or companies are driving your growth, but you basically take control of your growth. And when is the right time to start planning, right? So you can do it at the first year in your first job, 5 years, mid-year, or peak of the career. So career planning is a continuous thing, right? So if I'm talking to a first year PG, you need to plan your career now. And if I'm talking to someone who has just completed, I see Santosh in the call here, and he'll be completing MD, and then right after MD, that is also a good time. And we have panelists here who have like about 6 years. I'm pretty sure they also sit and discuss with their mentors or managers, what do I do now? What is my next plan? And I have spent like 14-15 years in the industry. Even today, I discuss what is my career plan for the next few years with my manager and my mentors. It is always a good time. But sooner you start, more control you are. You are in control of your career plan. And now, whenever you talk to people in the industry, so how does the career growth look like? And the most common question that I get is, what are career prospects in medical affairs? How are career prospects in pharmacovigilance and clinical research? So don't talk about roles or companies. Let's take out and look in a generic way how the path looks like. And then on the screen here, you see a path which is applicable to each and every vertical in pharma industry. So you basically start in a supporting role. And the supporting role, I'll take medical affairs as an example. So supporting role, MSL, right? So you're not really making any decisions. You're not designing something. Someone else is accountable and responsible for product launch, and an MSL basically supports the execution. But that's the starting role where you are really supporting an interesting piece and an important piece of what needs to happen in the pharma industry. And then you learn. So this is a good point, good starting place to learn something. And then you move to a situation where it is called as individual contributor. So meaning, so you have a clearly cut out task for which you are responsible for. If you don't do that job, then the rest of the picture is going to get impacted, right? So you have more increased responsibility. A medical advisor, let's say for product launch for the entire South India, right? Then of course, you will have a team or someone else, but if you don't do your job, the whole launch plan will have a significant problem. Now, from this one, you move to the next stage where your responsibility is not only you contribute, but then you get things done by a team, because now you have a team. So this is a most tricky part, and all of us, including me, have experienced the easiest. Getting things by myself is easier than getting things done by a group of people. So that is where you grow as a leader, right? So a medical director, for example, in the line of medical affairs, is responsible that product launch. You are responsible for the product launch for 1, 2, 3 products, and then you need to make sure that your team executes that. Also, sometimes come up with a plan. And then the fourth one is you are responsible for a part of a company, right? So head of medical affairs in a country. So here you are not only responsible for getting the job done, but you by getting the job done, you contribute to the business, right? So all pharma company is everything, each and every pharma company or a CRO is a commercial enterprise, right? So we help patients, we help doctors, but we are also a commercial enterprise. That's the reality, right? So you grow to a stage where you are head of medical affairs or chief medical officer, where you take care of science, and then in a good way, you also support the business. So this is a path. So whenever you ask any of your seniors next time, what is the career prospects? This is the answer. But then you take this one and then you put it in PV, medical affairs, and then see how does that look like, right? And then I'm going to talk a little bit about motivators versus incentives. So it is I'm using Maslow's hierarchy of needs here, so which is a very commonly known thing. So the pyramid basically says that we're all human beings. We first need to satisfy our basic needs, and then once they are satisfied, you want the next one. Right? So after MD, you want a job that has salary of, I don't know, 1 lakh or 2 lakhs per month. I don't know what's the current number now for freshers. So if I don't get this, I'm not joining this company, right? Okay, it's fine. You get the job, you get it, and then in 6 months, yeah, fine, I'm getting 1 month, but I'm not feeling happy. So what makes you happy? Okay, if I have a good people around me, right? So if you have toxic people around you and 20,000 less salary, you would rather move to a place where, sorry, 20,000 more salary, but you would rather move to a place where you have 20,000 less salary, but you have good people around you. And then it goes on a little bit, right? And finally the apex would be, what am I adding value to the society, right? So that is how the pyramid looks like. And I'm talking about the concepts, incentives, the salary hike, titles. These are all incentives. Yes, we need them, but then there are motivators which really keeps us hooked to what we do, right? So yes, don't let go of incentives. We all need incentives, but make sure that the incentives doesn't become distractions, because you really need to take decision on your career based on what motivates you. So this is again a little bit explaining the same thing. So most of us, basically get distracted, and we really put a lot of effort and importance on the second level of the pyramid itself. And then maybe 10 years, 15 years, then okay, so you look back, what have I done apart from just thinking about money, package, etc. So think about it in a different way. And then how do I plan a career, right? So this is a concept which is taken from a very famous author and an innovator called as Clayton Christensen. So he says that whenever you are planning for a career, so you have to have a deliberate strategy and then an emergent strategy. So deliberate strategy is nothing but you sit down today and then you have a plan, right? So I want to join as MSL in an MNC company that is based in Bangalore right after MD. And then I work in that company in MSL, as MSL for 2 years, and then I move as medical advisor. And then, in 5 years, I want to be, therapy area lead or something. So that's your plan. And then you start your plan in 1 or 2 years from now. One of your managers approaches you, hey, look, I think you're doing a great job. We think you can really benefit, or the company can benefit if you work in, I don't know, medical excellence in medical affairs. So you basically have an opportunity. You don't have that in your plan, but it looks like a good move. Then you take that in. So that is an emergent strategy. So you change your strategy as you learn and grow, right? So that is how it looks like. You plan and then you execute, but then you keep open for opportunities, and then you reevaluate, and then you basically have an updated version of your plan. And then now I'm going to spend some time about different skills that you can acquire as we go ahead. So whenever we are doing MD pharmacology, we heavily focus on academic knowledge. Nowadays, it is good to see people are also focusing a little bit on the applied aspects of pharmacology, which is fantastic. So, but then there is a lot more if you really want to thrive in pharma industry. So, what does this mean? So, the skills that are required to survive and thrive in pharmaceutical industry can be categorized into functional, operational, strategic, and people management. So the functional skills are core, minimum, and basic if you are a medic getting into the industry, right? So these are the ones you always need to have. So if you want to go into medical affairs, it is a must that you have good therapy area knowledge. It is must how to analyze publications, how to communicate, written communication, verbal communication, all that part, right? So these are functional skills, and then on top of it, as you kind of for roles like medical affairs, you really need to have a good eye on operational aspects, right? So it may not be needed at the beginning MSL role, but then as you grow in, you will need to know, okay, so if you're talking about product launch, it's a project, right? So if it is a project, then how to organize a product launch, and what is required to do a project launch, how do you organize that one, and how do you what exactly are you going to achieve, how will you measure your success and all those things. So those are the operational aspects that you should also learn sooner the better. And then there is people management, and the people management basically comes in different ways. So there is we need to mute people here a little bit. Okay, gone. So people management, it is about line managers, team leads, and all those things. So this is also an essential skill. And then there is the strategic leadership skills, where you are basically looking at okay, so I have to come up with a goal, a strategy, and then to really articulate the strategy versus vision, mission, and then how do I operationalize that, and how do I execute that, right? So this basically comes from a really a bird's eye view. So there are a lot of medical affairs people, pharmacovigilance, clinical research, but how does everything come together, and then how does a business gets constructed? So a very common question that I get asked is, so I'm doing MD pharmacology, will it help if I do an MBA? And this is where my answer always is gonna be, so you have a good starting point as an MD. So this is going to bring you a good job. And if you do MBA now, unless you are going into a marketing side, your immediate role doesn't require your marketing or MBA skills. What they need is your MD skills. So yes, MBA is good, but not at the beginning. So you use your MD, get in, learn these skills, acquire these skills, and then do an MBA, executive MBA, so that you get a push into the career. And then, so a little bit also about how to go about at what stage of the career, what proportions of these skills are required. So look at the color coding here, and just to give you an example, just focus on the left hand side here, right? So a medical advisor is expected to have predominantly functional skills, a little bit of operational, and a little bit of people management. But then as this person grows from medical to senior and medical director, etc., so the requirement to demonstrate those skills on the functional side is reduced, but then you are expected to demonstrate other skills such as people management, operational, and strategic will increase. So And one of the biggest mistake that a lot of people do is, I work as a medical advisor for 5 years. I know how to do a medical director job. Why is my company not promoting me as medical director? Because you have not acquired the green and gray color here yet, right? So prove to your company that I have these skills, and then you demand a promotion, rather than, okay, so I'm spending time here, so I deserve a promotion, right? So that is how it works, either in a medical affairs line or in, a marketing line. The concept is basically the same. Then how do I draft a career plan? So this is just some sort of a tool on how to go about it, right? So I said a lot of things about how to go, and then just follow the numbers here. So you are here right now as a student, as a, first, second year in the industry. And then you have to think about, what is my future role? You can decide the time frame between this dot and that dot, right? It can be 2 years, it can be 10 years. And then once you have clarity on, this is where I want to go, and then you identify, what do I need to learn and acquire to reach there? And then you will have a training plan, and then you train, right? So as simple as that. So whenever you are planning on that one, always break it down, right? So you have to think about, in 8 years from now, where do I want to go? And then break it down into 3 blocks: short term, mid term, long term. In 1 to 2 years, what should I learn? What skills should I acquire? And then mid term, what additional skills do I require? And then, if you keep acquiring them, then you are making progress, and then you will basically go in this direction. So I'm giving you here an example. So maybe let's take this one here, right? So this is for us from a student orientation perspective. So as a student, oops, as a student, these are the things that you will do anyway, right? So thesis, you have to learn therapy knowledge, publications, classes, ADR report. But that is you as a student. But then, I use the word RMA here, MSL, whatever, same, right? So then, what is expected from a medical advisor? So these are the list of activities, right? So then, okay, so the medical scientific expertise internally. So these are the things that you will get anyway. But then there are some things which are expected from a medical advisor, but you don't do them. That's a gap, right? So what can I do as a student to work on these things, so that when
in one stage, either of the stage.
So when I complete my MD, I can acquire some expertise on these skills, and then I can say that, I can convince my interviewer that I can do this job, right? Then how do I get those skills? And then there is a rule called 70-20-10. This is a learning model, and always this is a very generic one. A lot of companies use that, a lot of training institutions use that. Is that, if I want to acquire a skill, you follow 70-20-10. So 10 is formal education. Okay, so you pick up a book and read. You go to a class and listen. You attend workshops, you attend conferences. So that is formal learning. Interestingly, it only contributes 10% in acquiring a new skill. And then 20% comes from social learning. You go to workshops and conferences, and let's say I'm interested in psychology, right? Psychiatry. And then you talk to either KOLs or people, medical affairs, who are doing psychiatry product launches. And then you talk to them, okay, how do you do this? What exactly happens? So that's the social learning. And then you will never get that in a book or a course or in a lesson, right? So that adds to 20%. So that comes from experience. And then the 70% actually come others' experience, but the 70% comes from personal experience. You just basically organize a CME completely on yourself. You know the pain, right? So you organize a CME at a college level, and then you go and attend an interview for a medical affairs. You know that I have organized a CME at my hospital or another hospital, so that you know the stuff. So that is how you basically have to go about looking at what I want to learn, how do I leverage that, and how can I get ready not only to start my career in pharma industry, but then also have a good transition or in the first early years of career, and then go about it. So what I'm really trying to do is, if you just get into the maze, you just have to see wherever the path is going. You just have to follow that, but rather change the way you see, right? So you just look at the big picture, and then you know where you want to start, where you want to end, and then what is the right way or path to go there. So that basically concludes my presentation. So Melvin, I will now give this back to you. I guess you want to talk a little bit about the course, and then we open for panel, right?
Okay. Thank you, Sreek. Yeah, so we end this presentation by also talking about our certificate course in pharmaceutical development, which is basically part of the P2PC program, which we were earlier doing, is now rolled out into a university certificate program. So essentially what we have is a hybrid. This is a hybrid program, which is lasting 6 to 7 months. So in which you will have mainly webinars, which happen twice a week. And at the end of the 50 webinars that you're having, you will be having an assessment, which will be an offline assessment. And besides that, you will also have 2 offline workshops, face-to-face programs, where you will be engaging with the faculty members who are essentially industry experts in clinical development space, medical affairs, and pharmacovigilance. And you will also be having personality development, soft skills training workshop at the beginning of this course. So the first batch has just graduated a few months back, and now we are rolling out the second batch, which will start in a few weeks' time. We still have a few seats left. So those of you who are interested, who are at either you have completed your MD or doing your DM, or even if you have you just started your MD also, it is fine. You could be a part of this course. And the details are, of course, there. We have shared the brochure to you online also, and we'll also share this to all of you who joined today's webinar. And now it's time for you now to ask questions. You
So
could
Melvin, I
ask
guess
questions.
you might want to say, I'm using the older brochure. I think you still have time for accepting applications, right?
Yes, yeah. So we still have a week left. We are closing the applications by 3rd of July, and the examination, the entrance examination, is falling next Saturday, exactly 1 week left. So those of you who have still not made up your mind, you could take this time to register for this program. Kavya will be putting the link in the chat box, and you could use that link to register for this course. And besides that, you also have an opportunity now to ask Dr. Sreekanth as well as the other panelists any questions related to the queries that you have on career pathways in industry. Now is the time to ask. You could type your questions in the chat box, or you could also unmute yourself and ask your question directly.
So Melvin, I'll just leave that on the screen, but I think we can also discuss anything related to the course or to the session per se, or anything outside related to a pharma career.
So maybe I'll start by asking the first question, Sreek. So if I'm an MD student, why should I go through something specific like this? Doesn't my MD pharmacology program train me enough to join the pharma industry? After all, so many people are joining the pharma industry without going through something specific like this. What additional advantage this gives me?
Yeah. So what I would say, and then also I would ask panelists to add to this one, is yes. So our MD curriculum is pretty fixed, right? So there is, I'm pretty sure that it is still 4 papers of theory exam and then 1 practical exam, no matter which college you are coming from. And there is a general pharmacology, systemic pharmacology, applied pharmacology, and then one more. I don't remember what it is. So, and I don't have the number per se, but how many people are graduating from MD, and then what differentiates you, right? So that is the first question. The second question, even if go a little bit beyond, so nowadays people have really become very active in attending conferences, workshops. We have the very nice Pharmatech, NWCP, and congresses, pharmacogenomics workshop, and all these things. And people, so let's say there are 100 people graduating from MD Pharmacology, probably 50% of them are also attending and networking and learning these additional courses and workshops. And compared to that, how many job openings are there on the market? And among that, which one you specifically want to target, and just look at how many people are applying for that role, right? So if there is a position, probably that 20 to 30 people are applying for that role, and what differentiates you from having what is special in you. If I am hiring you, why should I hire you, right? Convince me that it is worth hiring you. And in this course, what the curriculum, how it is designed, is basically to give you a real life simulation of what exactly happens in the industry, in pharmacovigilance, medical affairs, and clinical development. And one part is imparting you knowledge, and then you'll be made to work on case studies virtually, and then you will be working in a face-to-face session at the end of the course, as though you have to actually pick up a molecule and come up with a plan how we will take the drug to the approval. You will have to pick up a side effect and see how what happens to the adverse event in the pharma regulations and the risk management plan. And how will you pick up a drug that is just approved and prepare for a launch plan? So you'll be given some exercises to actually do this, and there are industry people who will guide you how to do this. And then on top of it, there will be soft skills that will be imparted on it. So the goal is, by the time you complete the course, you actually get an experience of what actually happens in the industry, but also be part of it in a simulated environment. So that gives you an added perspective and confidence to face the industry when you're starting. So, but that is my view on the advantage that students may get. But I can also hand it over to panelists. So if you, so all three of you have actually personally gone through this course, right? So do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, please feel
Maybe
free to
I'll go
unmute yourself.
first.
Yes, yes.
Thanks, Dr. Melvin Gattu here. First of all, there's never a time to learn, and you could just hear from Dr. Sreekanth Gattu, who started and gave a glimpse of what is there. Even now, being 5 years in the industry, there was so much to learn in this particular short glimpse that he showed. I came, like, if I just go back, because most of you are MD students or learning MD pharmacology, I came from a college which was not very industry friendly, if I may say. They were not very industry friendly. They were more pushing towards academics. At that particular time, I didn't have an idea about what happens in the industry. This particular course helped me understand where first is the soft skills. The soft skills really made me understand how to prepare for an interview, because that was something that I was not ready with. It helped me understand what we do in medical affairs, what we do in pharmacovigilance, what we do in clinical development. And based on what skills I had, it helped me choose which area to enter into. So that kind of understanding, especially when we are in MD pharmacology, we just know the scientific. We might be very good in science, we might be good in communications as well, but to understand what to do, where and how do we proceed, that kind of understanding was something that gave, or this particular course gave me, and that helped me understand that, okay, my skills and my specialty is into medical affairs, and now I am thriving in it. So that's 2 points that
Thank you, Apeksha. So in the interest of time, I'll probably start taking the questions of the participants. So the first question is from Bruce. Sorry, their name is not fully written, so I'll just assume that's the name. So Bruce has asked a question on how to decide between academics and industry. So maybe I can ask Dr. Prithvi or Dr. Akshay to respond to that.
I can go, Melvin. Thank you.
Yes.
So nobody can make that decision for you, frankly. So you need to actually look into what motivates you day to day. If teaching motivates you on a regular basis, because academics involves a lot of teaching, I'm majorly teaching. So if that's what motivates you, then probably you should make a decision. Nobody else can make a decision for you there. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Akshay, you want to add anything?
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, I think it's your decision to make. I had this question too when I before started my career, to be very honest. Um, more so that you have to understand what it requires. So you know what it is with academics, right? But we don't really know what it is with the industry. So I think if you really want to, I think you have to understand what are the requirements, what do you need to do when you are joining medical affairs, when you are joining pharmacovigilance or clinical development, what is the amount of commitment that would be required? And that will probably help you decide. Again, it's your choice. If you really want to do academics, well, go for it. If you understand what is required for these kind of roles and you understand what you need to develop and how much of commitment and time is required, get to know each of these verticals separately, be a part of it, then I think that'll help you decide, make it easier for you to make that probably decision. But yeah, no straight answer. It's for all of us to decide, or each one of you to decide.
Yes, thank you.
And maybe just to add one line to that one, so it is quite possible that we are interested in more than one, right? So if you're interested in more than one, then pick one, and then you will get an opportunity to figure out the other one, right? So when I finished my MD, I was like, yeah, I think I like teaching, but then I like clinical research more. So I started in the clinical research, and then it was not until 6 years after I joined the industry, I was able to get into the teaching back here in the form of P2PC, right? So you'll find your way to address your passion. So if you are interested in more than one, pick one and start.
Yeah, thank you, Sreek. So this question, I think I'll put it forward to Dr. Prithvi. So what between the different options that we have in the industry, how do I choose which area to venture into to start with, at least pharmacovigilance or medical affairs or clinical development?
Okay. First, let me put it straight. We are all not privileged enough to have all the options. So for me, staying in Hyderabad, where I didn't have any option to move across any other place, I didn't have a lot of options. So it depends on which stage of life you are in. You know, a lot of factors that play a role when you are making that decision. For me, when I took up a medical affairs role, my first role was medical affairs, by the way, and I just took it up because I got it. It's as simple as that, because I didn't want to stay idle. I didn't want to waste my time. I just wanted to grab some experience during that time, and I just joined it. And within 6 months, I realized it's not my cup of tea. The travel was hitting me badly. Then I decided, no, I should look for something, that doesn't involve a lot of travel. Otherwise, it's a very interesting, line function, a very scientifically intriguing line function, you should say. And then I moved to Novartis, where I got an opportunity as medical information manager, senior medical information manager. That majorly involves a lot of writing. But then that was not my interest. My interest at that point, after being for some time in medical affairs, I realized my interest was in clinical development. But clinical development is very difficult to venture into. So I decided, okay, Novartis is a global company. Then I decided, okay, first I'll get into Novartis and then decide how I am going to go to clinical development. So that's how it started. It's a long process. It's not like there are very few line functions or roles that are easily available for a fresher. Clinical development is not easily available for a fresher, and then what is it? Medical safety. If medical safety is available for a fresher, and then directly into research, it's not available. So we are not privileged enough to have what we want. So figure out what suits best from what you're getting, and then get into it, and then try to go into the area where you find your liking.
Yeah. Yes, Akshay, please.
Yeah, Akshay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So go back 6 years, everybody said, Akshay, you're a PV person. Okay. And my interest was clinical development. I'm currently working in medical affairs. The reason as to why this is because I have my plan. I know where I want to go, right? And for that, there are certain things that is required. You need that kind of an exposure. So I think understanding and making that, and to get there, I think we have to be open. At the same time, also be in a position to probably, if not work poorly with that particular type of, segment of the industry, be it vigilance, safety, affairs, or medical affairs, or clinical development. But at some point of in the time in your career, you would definitely have to understand what that function does. So understand what you really want to do, have that probably the long-term career plan that we did that you want to do. And I think the path will kind of lead you to it.
Yeah,
so
thank you,
I
Akshay.
just want to add one more thing. I think both Prithvi and Akshay's careers are a perfect example of one of the slides that I was showing, and maybe if you allow me, I'll just go back to this one. So we talked about a deliberate strategy and an emergent strategy, right? So Prithvi, I'll pick on you, and both Akshay and Prithvi, what they basically said is, I had a plan, and then I got in and I realized, and then I had to choose from what came across to me, right? So that's exactly what a deliberate and emergent strategy is. So Prithvi, if I pick you, so when we met in Usmania Medical College, I met you. So if you think back, so what did you want to do at that time after your MD? What was your initial plan? Now, firstly, you were confused, as everyone in the group was. But if I pin you down, what is that role which kind of you really liked?
I was always inclined towards clinical development, not pharmacovigilance, not medical affairs.
So you wanted to get into the clinical development space, right? And then you saw, okay, so I can't get into clinical development right away. I'll get into whatever comes to me, and then I'll grow there, right? So that is something that you changed, and you although you had a deliberate strategy, you used an emergent strategy. And then, Prithvi, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to talk about your different roles that you moved into med affairs, med information, and then you moved into PV, which you hated, right? But then you survived. No, you actually moved into clinical development, and then you moved back into PV.
Yes.
And now you are coming back into clinical development, right?
Yes,
so if someone picks up your CV or look at your LinkedIn, it's like, oh my God, what is this? Like, she really doesn't know what she wants to do. She's moving all around. But if I look at your CV as like a hiring manager, so what your CV is carrying is like, it's very difficult for me to pick someone who has like about like 6-7 years of experience and tried literally everything in the industry, right? So there is medical affairs, there is pharmacovigilance, there is late development, there is early development. You have everything. So that is how, this is a perfect example of how a combination of deliberate and emergent will evolve you. And there is no way anyone could foresee that this is how I will grow 6 years, 7 years back. You just have to start, but have a plan and be open.
No, I want to add. So when I moved to clinical development, I was very relieved, settled, and everything. But then, boom, came Novartis reorganization, and I had to leave that job and look for something else. So this is not something you plan. It doesn't go according to your plan. Just go with the flow, have something at the back of your mind, and work towards it. So as Sreek was mentioning, if somebody looks at my CV, I think in the earlier stages, there used to be a lot of questions whenever I used to go for interviews, that why have you moved so many line functions? But now at this point, when I recently gave an interview for the new role, they were very impressed with me having experience in different line functions. That was kind of advantage for me. So I think in the long run, if you are able to wherever I was, one more thing I just wanted, wherever I was, it was always good feedback and good review. So whatever I was doing, it was with full interest. It's not like I was half-heartedly doing it or something. That needs also to be there. You cannot just take something up and say that I'm not interested, I'm not gonna do that, I'm gonna wait for something. That's not gonna happen. Do whatever you're doing with full wholeheartedly, and then that itself will give you new paths. That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Prithvi. So that's the question to Apeksha. So what do you foresee as for a fresher, what would be the job responsibilities that a person in medical affairs would have to deal with?
Yeah, thanks, Melvin, for that question. If I'm talking from a freshers in medical affairs, they're normally being hired as regional medical advisors. The other terminology that they use is medical science liaisons or MSs. So that's the two terminologies that they are normally looked into. From a job profile, since they are called regional medical advisors, they are supposed to be taking care of a region of that country. It can be a north, south, west, east, whichever regions. And the main important job or main important thing is two. One is scientific communication to the KOLs and bring back strategy from bring back insights from those particular KOLs back to the head office. So we normally, when we discuss the job profiles to the freshers, we say that you have to own that particular zone. Talk to your key opinion leaders, which are basically whichever therapeutic area you belong to. There would be top 100 or top 200 important decision makers or important doctors, HCPs, healthcare professionals that we tell, who would be making decisions for the country or be very, very important from an advocate kind of levels. Talk to them, discuss the newer science to them, communicate it in such a manner and ask them what are the things that we should do, etc. so that you get insights and then strategize to that particular reason. So that's the two important, if I want to just highlight. One is talk to the doctors or talk to your KOLs from your region and bring back the insights from those particular KOLs and strategize your region. So that would be your major.
Yeah, thank you, Apeksha. And a follow-up question. So for the interview to medical affairs position, what exact kind of knowledge are they looking for? Maybe Apeksha and probably Akshay also could answer this question.
Yeah, maybe Akshay, you want to take that first or? Okay, so if I'm talking from an interview, since both me and Akshay have taken for regional medical advisors, the most important would be, like for me at least, would be having etiquettes. That's the first thing that we see, that they have to be on time. They have to respect the person's time as well as be formal in their way they are being dressed. That's the few important points that we took the first itself. And then during the interview, we look majorly from the skills perspective, that is majorly the communication skills. Also, although we don't look into more what is the scientific knowledge that they have, we do look into the preparedness levels, or at least how much have they put in effort to prepare that particular slide or particular presentation. That's one. So the scientific communication will be definitely one thing. The second thing is how much is that they have put an effort in the presentation. And the third important, because there's statistics involved, do they know a little bit about the statistics, which can be worked upon. So the major thing that, at least from an interview perspective, we look into is agility. Are they interested in learning, or are they going to learn something? So even with the presentation, we'll be able to understand that. So majorly scientific communication, their agility to learn, and statistics. So if these three are understanding and they are working around it, I think more or less it's good. So that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Apeksha. So moving on. So from a person who's wanting to join the pharmacovigilance space, so what exactly should they prepare themselves? Are there any additional courses or anything of that sort that they should prepare? Maybe Sreekanth would want to take this up, or even Prithvi.
Yeah, let's give that to Prithvi for pharmacovigilance.
Yes, sorry, I missed the question, Melvin. Can you
Yeah,
just...
so what should I do if I'm interested in pharmacovigilance? What should I do to prepare myself for that if I'm interested in pharmacovigilance? And secondly, what is my exact responsibility there to start with in the pharmacovigilance space as an entry level?
Yeah. Okay, so for an entry level role, I think having knowledge on basic, like if there is a pharmacovigilance system in your college, then you need to, that will be evaluated upon when you're being interviewed, like to what extent you were involved there, you know, and the basic knowledge on terms like adverse events, adverse drug reaction, what's the difference between these two and stuff like that. Now, if you have much more knowledge about RMP or signal evaluation or signal detection, that's good, but it's not a must, because whenever they are taking an interview for a fresher, they do understand the limitations of where they're coming from. You know, academics do not have all this being provided to the students. So they know everybody, whoever is interviewing is majorly from the medical background or otherwise also know what is expected. And they don't expect you to know a lot of things that happen in the industry. But yeah, what you know, what is supposed to be known from the perspective of PV as a student, that will be evaluated majorly. And for a fresher, it will be majorly spontaneous case reports that will be that the fresher will be, that the medical safety pharmacovigilance entry level role demands. Once the person enters into that role, then they go through a level of trainings, and then they know, then they are exposed to a lot of databases on how to access, you know, how to extract the reports and everything. And major work is the ICSRs, that is individual case reports. That is what they do. And to the next level, once you are in that role, you get exposed to all these terms and all these questions that come from health authorities. So you keep listening and networking. That's where networking is important. You keep discussing things with people around, where you pick some things, and that's how you learn and then get prepared for the next role. But for an entry level role, whatever you're exposed to in your college, put in a little more effort to understand little more, at least know what is a signal, know what is ADR, adverse event, the difference between ADR and adverse event, and small stuff like this, and you should be good.
Yeah, thank you, Prithvi. So this question is for Akshay. Akshay, could you tell us about the chances of moving abroad for if you are a medical advisor, and maybe even Sreekanth could add in.
Okay, so what I can say is from my experiences only here. So yes, I think there's always a will to move abroad, but I think moving abroad, I think requires its own set of requirements per se as well. So not the skill sets per se as a medical affairs person or the industry person, but I think there are other aspects that you really need to have when you want to move abroad, be it language, be it some other skill development course, etc. So maybe that's probably what you would have to work upon if you want to really go abroad. But then that said, I feel that this is my personal feeling that the chances for you to move abroad, if you really want to go abroad, is once you join a company and something comes up from within the company per se. So I mean, that's probably the most easiest way. I don't know, Sreekanth, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel that this is probably the most easier way to have a chances to move abroad if you really have that kind of a thing to go outside India. But yeah, but I have very limited thoughts on this particular thing, so I'll hand it over to Sreekanth here. Sreekanth.
Yeah, no, thanks, Akshay. I do not disagree to what you said, right? So there is, if going abroad is a goal, then there are some easier ways, there are some difficult ways, and what you said was right. I will also answer this question because I think more than 2 or 3 people asked this question in the chat, right? So abroad. So even Thailand is abroad, right? So you have to decide what does abroad means to you. Is it just experiencing outside India? Is it a particular country for personal and family reasons? Or is it the focus where the industry is, right? So that is how you should basically start. And I'll be very open. When I started, I took my MD Pharmac. It was very prominently in my mind, in my deliberate strategy, in my plan. I want to move abroad at some point in time, sooner the better, right? So it's okay to have that, but then be clear. Are you talking about Australia, Canada, US, UK, Europe, whatever it is, and then you narrow down, right? And then once you narrow down your country or countries, then you can actually work on options what works there. That is one point. The second point is, so in my experience, whatever I have seen, there are two main ways on how you can move. There are other ways as well, but then the two main ways is, if you are just coming out of MD, just spend some additional 1 or 2 years in studying. So you say, I'm going to US, or I'm going to UK, or I'm going to Europe, and then do some. Oh God. Okay, so I say that, okay, so I'm going to spend another year or so getting into a very specific master's course in that country, and then I am in the country that I want to, and then I'm in the field, I will get connections, and then once I'm in space, I'll make it. And I've seen a lot of people who do this, and then a lot of people are successful, but then there are also a lot of people who figured out after a year the job market is too dry, this is not what I expected, and then they come back. So that is one way. But here, you're not, you still need some more time to settle down. But the other way, what Akshay was saying is, now let me get into the field. I I gain something, I learn, I become experienced, and then if I want to apply for a job in Germany, they are looking for some specific skills which they will not be easily finding in the people from Germany. But I have that. Let me sell my skill so that they can hire me. But then if you want to go in this direction, you should prepare at least 1 or 2 years in advance to learn what skills do they need, get them, and then make your CV and your profile compelling. And that is how a lot of people who move as well. And then there are other ways where you go there on a dependent visa, you go there with the connections of your friends and family, and a lot of people has done that as well. I came in the second way. I took my time, 5 years, 6 years, and then I moved through company. And this is not only the easiest one, like Akshay was saying, this is also a safe bet, right? So you are settled, you're not risking too much. And you know that it is within the company, you're not really on the road and all those things. So it's a bit safe as well. But it takes time. It cannot happen overnight. And then one last thing I'll add is that so whenever you think about abroad, you really need to understand between pharmacovigilance, medical affairs, and clinical development, which field has more options. So the nature of the medical affairs is you are expected to be an expert in the country that you are in, right? So you probably I would say 50 to 60% of the roles expect you to deliver in India. And then, depending on the type of the company, you have some regional strategy, global strategy, and all that part. That is when you grow out. So medical affairs, the path, the most tried tested path actually looks like you grow in India, take Asia Pacific route, and then go into global, right? In pharmacovigilance and medical affairs, so pharmacovigilance is tricky. There is a lot of outsourcing that is happening in India, and then people move in that space. They get connections with the clients who are in global, and then they move on. In clinical research nowadays, there are a lot of what they're calling as GCC, Global Capability Centers. So the multinational companies have their big office on R&D in India, and then when you are working in this one, you are already part of the global team, and then it makes it easy to make a transition. So I'll stop here.
Yeah, thank you, Sreekanth, for answering that question. And also, there was a lot of question about the basic salary packages that the fresher would likely to have. Maybe I'll ask this to Apeksha. You could give a briefing as to how.
All the people managers among the panelists. I'm not taking that.
I think it depends from company to company, and every year it changes because of the fact that there is inflation, etc. So the basic salary that I started with is totally different from what people are giving right now. So it depends upon company to company and year that you're joining, that I can say. But again, if I just want to give a number, I'll give a wide range, because again, it's a very big, difficult, or a very difficult approach, I can say. But maybe around 15 to 20 is what's been given across per annum CTC.
Yeah, thank you, Apeksha.
Can I just add here?
Yes, please.
I think you should. I understand salary is important. It's competitive, but I mean, if you're getting into a role that you really want to, if you're passionate about it, it will honestly won't matter in the end, because it might be low now, or it might be a little less now. But if you really are passionate about it, you will deliver in such a way that you will go to you will go to a position that you would surpass everybody else. So I really do feel that even if even if you're getting it at a little uh, lesser thing, I'm not saying that you should go for everything and say yes to it. You should negotiate. I think negotiation is very important, but ultimately what you're doing is what matters, and that's how I see it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Akshay. And with respect to countries wise, also there are some questions. So there's a question specifically towards the Middle East. Any specific guidance on going towards the Middle East, roles in Middle East for in the pharma industry? Sreekanth, you want to take that?
I mean, Middle Eastern countries predominantly have medical affairs roles, to my knowledge, right? So there might be some CROs, but I personally don't know how many people have got into that space. But again, for medical affairs, Apeksha and Akshay, you have seen people moving in either in your immediate circle. Maybe you can add.
Yeah, maybe I'll just
Yeah,
add
please.
into what Sreekanth was saying. So when you're talking about
Closing.
Middle East, like I said, I hope I'm audible. Like how Sreekanth said, medical affairs role is very local, where you have to develop your relationship with your KOLs, develop your cross-functional relationship, and then based on that, you keep growing. Now, if you're joining within an year and you're still in a regional medical advisor, you want to shift, they would they will consider you as an RMA even in that particular country if you want to shift. Now, again, there will be internal IJPs that we call, which is internal job postings. Based on that, you can apply for any other countries, but they would evaluate you with somebody who has better KOL interactions or better connect in their particular country as well. So what normally happens is, if you can demonstrate that, yes, one is definitely the language, because that is also something that can be a barrier if you're going as a regional medical advisor. But if you stay for 1-2 years where you go into that strategic role and not a regional medical advisor, you're in the medical affairs manager or in the area lead or therapy area lead position. And then when you shift, it becomes easier, because then you're in the strategic role where they're looking into how your strategic thinking is and how kind of cross-functional collaborations you have. And then it becomes easier for you to shift, even if it's Middle East countries. That's the small things that I want.
Yeah, thank you, Apeksha. So I think with this we'll close, and I'll just ask each of you to give your concluding remarks for the students, maybe your parting advice at the end of this webinar. We'll start with Sreekanth and then move to
Yeah,
Akshay,
maybe let's start
Prithvi,
with
and
panelists,
Apeksha.
Melvin. I'll come last.
Okay, fine. You have time? Okay. Yeah, Apeksha, please go ahead.
So the closing remarks to me would be, develop your skills in such a manner that you choose the company rather than choosing the company chooses you, because you will have to choose a company that has good culture. The discussions that you're having about packages, then you'll be able to negotiate as well. So try to make your presentation, your skills in such a manner that the company chooses, or company chooses you, or sorry, you choose the company rather than company choosing you. So that's one point that I want.
Thank you, Apeksha. Prithvi?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is whatever you're doing, do it with full passion, and that will lead you to your goals ultimately. Don't think about I would suggest not to think about the packages in the early stages if you're really getting the role that you want. Focus on whatever you're doing that should add up to your CV. That's what my mentor said at some point. So yeah, that is what is important. You're doing something which is not adding to your CV is not going to benefit you in any way. So yeah, that's from me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prithvi. Akshay?
Yeah, be open, accept everything that is there, that is being told, understand what is probably required to be in the industry. You don't have to be an expert, you need to just understand how it works. And if it interests you and if you're able to do it, go for it. Once you understand what it is, I think it'll help you narrow down what you really want to do. But trust me, as you go, I think you'll figure out, it becomes easier for you. You'll figure it out on your own. So it's fine. Go just as much as possible. Just go out there, talk to people, network, hear from others, experience workshops which are like this. And I think it'll definitely help you in the end. That's it. There's after which you will not be. Trust me, you'll have no time. I think MD is where you have to go there. Do it as much as possible. That's what I say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Akshay. Sreekanth?
Yeah, so maybe a couple of points from my side is start now, right? So start now. You are in first year, start now. You are in final year, start now to think about your career plan. So now is the best time to plan, right? And then the second thing is, I don't know how many people will like me when I say this, but money will come. Okay, so don't go after money. You have seen this in many movies, but I'm going to still say that, right? So, but I would also say that what is important in your first job, pick a job where you have a good manager and a good team. So that is what is going to really drive how your subsequent years are going to be, right? So use that. And no matter where you start, PV, CR, pharmacovigilance, medical affairs, doesn't matter. Have a good start, choose a good company, a good team, a good manager, and you'll have a good start. And the last thing that I would say is, because me and Melvin are doing this, please do consider CPD. And I'm promoting here a little bit, also selfish a little bit. So this course does give you a perspective on how to do that. Over to you, Melvin.
Yeah, thank you, Sreekanth. So once again, at the outset, I wish to thank all the panelists, Apeksha, Prithvi, Akshay, and Sreekanth for giving your valuable time to share your expertise and knowledge with the students of this webinar. I'm sure all of you are going to take very wise decisions and project yourself in such a way that the industry would look forward to working with you. So I encourage all of you to take this opportunity also to be a part of CPD course. Kavya has put the link in the chat box, and we will also send you the brochure in the email so that you can have a look at it. And if you have any queries, please do ask. But the thing is, we're closing the registrations by this week, so don't delay beyond this. Looking forward to see you all joining the CPD course also. Thank you once again for joining this webinar, and thank you, panelists, for giving your valuable time.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Bye-bye.
much for your
Yeah.
Yeah.